Acuron Yield Advantage range based on 2016 Syngenta and University trials. Always read and follow label instructions. Acuron is a restricted use pesticide.
Getting your pet's needed medications is easy with Covenant Animal Clinic in Clinton.
Yes, very convenient, especially because I live in Bloomington. It always gets delivered right to your door.
I've used the online pharmacy. It's so easy.
Click the Covenant Animal Clinic icon at DeWittDailyNews.com to learn more.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. JimBohannon of the JimBohannon Show, heard here weeknights from 9 to midnight. Our guest on the phone today, JimBo. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Seth.
Very good. Thanks for coming on and talking with us. Always good to have you. And Jim, let's talk midterms. Not trying to put the cart before the horse, I'm sure, but Republicans are planning on a red wave here in about a month. What say you? Are they in for a big win?
I think that probably, certainly, I think there's little question that Republicans will take control of the House and thus end the reign of Speaker Pelosi in January. How big a wave? Well, they only need to pick up 6 seats, and they'll probably pick up closer to 30, I would imagine. So it should be substantial. In the Senate race, it looked close, but then again, Republicans don't have to pick up much. I mean, it's already a 50-50 tie, and the only basis for the Democratic majority in the Senate is the vice president's tiebreaker vote. So I think they'll pick up 2 or 3 seats there, and they'll have control of both houses of Congress, which essentially would put an end to the Biden domestic agenda. There are only so many things he can enact through executive orders, and he's done most of those. So, yes, I think that we're entering 2 years of gridlock with a Democratic president and a Republican control of Congress.
What does gridlock mean for things like, inflation? For supply chain issues, like worldwide issues, global issues, things of that nature that are facing us over the next few years. What does gridlock in Washington do for perhaps easing of some of these things that are impacting Americans on a daily basis, Jimbo?
Well, it means that we have 2 different ideas of what's the best course to follow. Nobody has the votes necessary to prevail, so it means that nothing gets done.
Races in particular, Jimbo, are there any of interest to you?
Certainly the Herschel Walker Warnock race down in Georgia. That's of considerable interest. Pardon me there, that was my fault. The Ron Johnson re-election bid, Republican Senator Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. That is certainly the Fettering Oz race in Pennsylvania. I think those are 3 that are following a lot of attention. But there are just too many places where Democrats have to defend an awful lot of seats, and I'm not sure that they can do that successfully in all cases.
Mm-hmm. Sure. How about Senate races, Jimbo? Are there any that you're keeping an eye on? Anything there?
Certainly I think that the Hassan race in New Hampshire is attracting a lot of attention. And again, Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, the Oz Fettering race in Pennsylvania, Herschel Walker and Warnock in Georgia. I don't think that Marco Rubio in Florida, the Republican incumbent, should have much trouble winning re-election there.
Mm-hmm. Governor races, Jimbo. Are there any that strike your attention as you think about some of these in other parts of the country?
Well, I think it's not entirely impossible that the Republican challenger in New York State might have a shot there after his family was assaulted in a gang war over the weekend. Zeldin, the Republican congressman and a Republican nominee for governor of New York. His family was almost caught up in a gang war. His two teenage daughters were at home doing homework, and they had to run to the bathroom and lock the door and call 911. So I think that's one that could possibly switch hands. And California, that was pretty safely Democratic for reasons that totally escape me. But those would be two that come quickly to mind.
Mm-hmm. How about Illinois? Is Illinois on your radar as one that could flip? We're watching that one pretty closely here, obviously. But
obviously, yeah, I don't know that. One would think with the issues of crime in Chicago and elsewhere, and inflation and the like, one would think that would be a fairly easy feat to flip. But Democratic registration margins are such that that's probably going to be very hard to change.
Sure. No question. Well, Jim, again, our guest on the phone today, Jim Bohannon of the JimBohannon Show, heard here weeknights from 9 to midnight. Does that set up for 2024 well? How does midterms, how do those kind of roll over into the general elections when it comes to, of course, obviously the presidential race in 24, but others? How about that?
Well, I think that there's no doubt about the fact that what happens in 2022 will have an impact on 2024. I suspect the Democrats will do badly enough that probably you will see a major call within the Democratic Party for Joe Biden not to run for re-election, and that may well be persuasive. That may well not happen. So I don't expect the names Biden or Harris, either one, to appear on the 2024 Democratic ticket. I think Hillary Clinton, despite her protestations to the contrary, might wind up being a candidate for president.
Yeah, and so when it comes to, if there is this red wave that a lot of people are predicting, does that tone down kind of the inflammatory rhetoric out of the White House, and not even just the White House? I mean, do you feel like maybe that eases political tensions and just tensions in general in the country? How do you feel about, does some of this go away with these things?
I think that as long as we're very bitterly divided as we are, and as long as we're so evenly divided that we can't make a choice, that the division will stay. I mean, until 2024, we don't have a chance to clean house one way or the other. And so, no, I just think that the divisions are going to be more severe after the midterm elections than they have been, because the most change that you can bring about would be the Republicans controlling Congress and the Democrats controlling the presidency, and that solves nothing. We haven't made up our minds yet. So I think the divisions will continue and they'll get worse.
Thoughts on a potential Trump and Clinton rematch in 24, Jimbo?
That could happen. I don't know that Donald Trump has made up his mind about running. There are those who are convinced that he will. I think he probably will. And if he does run, I think he's got the inside track to being the nominee of the Republican Party. I don't think it's a given, but he's got the inside track for it. I think any Republican who runs for president in 2024 has got to be considered the favorite over any Democrat. Biden has simply messed things up too much for the Democrats to have much of a chance in 2024.
Sure. Jim, let's take a time out here. Come back with some more. Jim Bohannon of the JimBohannon Show, our guest on the phone this morning. More to come here on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. The bank is closed on Columbus Day, but the ag markets are open. December corn up 8 3/4, 692. March up 8, 699, and July up 5 3/4, 692 3/4. November soybeans up 17 3/4, 1384 3/4, January up 16 3/4, 13.96. July up 12 3/4, 14.15. December soybean meal up 170, 402.40. Soy oil for December up 48, 67.08. And Chicago wheat for December up 39, 9.19 1/4. Kansas City December up 36 1/4, $10.05. December oats up 9 3/4, 3.88 3/4. This is the RFD Radio Network.
Are you a friend of agriculture? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We're giving a $500 Friends of Ag discount to anyone that orders a new Chevrolet or Buick to be built just for you this month. Are you a friend of ag? You are if you're a member of any ag organization, employed by any ag-related business, including research, inputs, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and of course, ag education. Come in, order yours today. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
Hello, Panther fans. This is the voice of the Eastern Illinois University Panthers, Mike Brad, inviting all of our fans from Peoria and Bloomington Normal to the Indiana state line to listen for Panther football again this fall on WHOW's many platforms. EIU Panther football is part of WHOW's great weekend sports programming schedule, including a Best of Clinton Maroon sports broadcast and CBS Sports Radio. We'll bring you every Panther game this fall on Central Illinois' news, ag, and sports station, WHOW.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. JimBohannon of the JimBohannon Show. Heard here weeknights from 9 to midnight is my guest on the phone. And JimBo, let's talk war in Ukraine. And I saw a couple of weeks ago, Vladimir Putin declared annexation of a couple territories in Ukraine. And since then, it doesn't seem like the news has gotten very good for Russia. So what's your status update of the situation?
Well, of course, a lot of people are now concerned about Putin's veiled threat of possibly using nuclear weapons within Ukraine. And the president, of course, made reference to that as putting us approaching Armageddon. He made those remarks not to the American public, but to a Democratic Party fundraiser. And a lot of people are wondering if it was worth saying aloud to the entire public. Why did you have to contribute money to the Democratic Party to be told about that? But I don't personally think that Putin is quite that crazy, but one never knows. That he's somewhat crazy, I think, is a given. So I doubt that he would do so. I mean, if he has any rational advisors at all, this would accomplish nothing except to harden the resolve of the West to keep Putin from getting his way. So,
well, how about the resolve of Ukraine, JimBo? You know, I think it's fair to say this effort has not gone the way Putin, I'm sure, had hoped nor thought it would. How about the fight that Ukraine has put up here? As I don't know, are we coming up on a year of Russia invading Ukraine? I don't think it's close, but I'm not positive. How about that?
February. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 8 months it's been.
Okay, 8 months. So how about the resolve of Ukraine to continue to fight for their country?
Well, they've shown every sign that the resolve continues. I mean, the Russians are not winning anywhere. They're managing to inflict damage and casualties, but those are spiteful moves. They're not even the areas that they have the so-called annexed through that referendum, that phony baloney referendum. Even those areas are being taken back by Ukraine. So, no, the resolve of Ukraine has been a major problem that I don't think Putin expected. Plus, apparently he was told by yes men surrounding him that the Russian army was just fine. And as we now know, and in fact Putin knows too, it wasn't anything close to fine. So that I think was a major surprise for him.
Well, aren't there men in Russia leaving the country trying to escape so they're not drafted and have to go to war and all that stuff?
Yes. As a matter of fact, one boatload reached the American coast of Alaska. So, yeah. Well, what we do with those people, I'm not sure.
Right.
But,
That's crazy. That's crazy. It seems like perhaps the public opinion in Russia is not all on board with this. It's not all sunshine and roses from their perspective.
No, and you must remember that Russia is not a very good place to be protesting the government in the streets. That can get you arrested and dragged off to who knows where. So
Yeah.
when the discontent is such that people are willing to take that chance, that's major discontent. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, well, and it's not a funny situation, but it's a point well taken, no question about it. So yeah, and what is your like? How do you see this playing out, JimBo? I mean, is this just going to be a never-ending crusade by Putin until he passes on? How does this situation resolve itself?
That's a very good question, and I'm sure he's wondering. Putin is wondering that as well. He thought it would be over with in 3 or 4 days, and Ukraine, all of it, would be a part of Russia before the West could even get angry. And of course, that hasn't come close to happening. I don't know that he's looking for an off ramp. He hasn't shown any signs of it. I mean, all he has to do is just back off. But I guess he feels he can't do that. I don't think he's come to grips with the fact that he probably doesn't have much future in terms of being the leader of Russia. Russia will never be treated as anything but a rogue nation as long as Putin is still in power.
How about the energy that the kind of ripple effect that the energy market has seen because of all of this? I know he's done some things to make people more reliant on his energy and that sort of thing. How do you see the continuation of this effort impacting those types of things?
Well, of course, the big question is who blew up that natural gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea from Russia to Western Europe. Some people think that Putin did, although why totally escapes me. But if anything, the blowing up of that pipeline should have made it clear to the Western Europeans, they may have grown a third digit in their IQs, that the Russians are not a dependable source of energy. So we'll see.
Sure. JimBo, less than a minute with you, sir. What's coming up on your show this week?
Well, we're going to be talking about all of the issues that we have talked about tonight, the midterm elections, former ambassador to the Vatican and the U.S. Congressman from Florida, Francis Rooney, will be on tonight in our 9 p.m. hour. We'll be talking about Ukraine and other foreign policy issues. So that'll lead off the week, and more of the same throughout the rest of the week.
Jim, always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks for making time for us. JimBohannon of the JimBohannon Show, our guest on the phone, weeknights, 9 to midnight. Network News is next.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton, 106.5